Thank all of you for coming out today to an incredibly important step in the direction of turning the rhetoric into reality, and that is making children first. You know, I 3 years ago joined with my colleagues, Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Barry, Chairman Brown, and I know if she had been on the council, she would have been right there with us because you heard the passion in her voice, Congresswoman Norton. And we said, let's put a stake in the ground. Let's stop the rhetoric and let's do something for children in the District of Columbia. And we joined with advocates like Kerry Thornhill and others across the city and said, let's stop talking about what we can do for children and let's now start making a difference. Frankly, I don't like terms like preschool. I don't like terms like Head Start because that implies that that's the period before learning begins. Let's stop using those terms. Let's start using START. Let's start using learning. Because frankly, if I were in the position to be able to have a fetus in a program, I would do that because and maybe we can. If we get those moms early enough and bring them in, those moms to be, and we don't know, science hasn't advanced to the point where we don't know what's going on in the intrauterine experience. I had somebody say to me last week, why would you read, why would you think about reading to kids who are 18 months old, 12 months old? I said, oh my God, you know, how do we help you understand that that's how kids build vocabulary? Because they may not be able to read at that stage, but they can understand words. They start to use words, and we start to build their self-confidence. And that is the point at which we win the battle. Frankly, if we wait until kindergarten, the first grade, the second grade, for many of our children, the battle is already lost. And that is exactly why what we're doing here today, what the Buffett Foundation is doing, what Dan Peterson is doing, what all of those visionaries are doing, they say we have to win this battle early if we are going to win the war. I've heard people say education is expensive. And there was somebody who once said, if you think education is expensive, try the cost of ignorance. You know, and we find that funny. But you look at the cost. Look at the number of children who wind up in special education simply because they are the victims of their environment. Look at the number of kids who wind up in juvenile justice because at ages 7 and 8 years old, they start to disengage in a classroom. And as they get older, they start to physically disengage, wind up being truants, wind up being on our streets, wind up getting in trouble, and wind up being beyond the control of anybody, including the parents that they may have in their lives. Look at the kids who wind up in the criminal justice system and go back and look at the problems that they had. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to have been a part of a council that said we are going to do something that nobody else in America has done. And that is we are going to say we will have a seat for every 3- and 4-year-old in this city whose family wants them to be in a program. And one of the things I said, when we got that done is, congratulations, everybody. It's already too late. Now we got to turn to infants and toddlers. And the Buffett Foundation came along and said, we want to work with you guys to make this happen. And doggone it, we are going to make this happen. As long as I am the mayor of this city, we are going to find a way to invest in our children because the day will come when we won't have to worry to the same extent about kids in juvenile justice, or the number of kids in special education, or the fact that we stand here today and say we barely have an indigenous workforce because 70% of the jobs in this city are filled by people who don't live here. You want the answer? The answer is invest in our children now for a better, stable future for the District of Columbia. That is what we're going to do. Thank you, Educare, for coming here. Now let's make this area of Ward 7 a model with the new senior facility, with the new pedestrian bridge, with the Neville Thomas School that we have across the street. This can be a model of what we can do for children in this community, including our new primary care clinic that's going to be built up the street. We've had a vision for this area of the city. Frankly, it's time to stop talking about east of the river as if it's a place where nobody wants to go. East of the river is part of the District of Columbia, and frankly, you know what's going to happen? The time is going to come when people stop talking negatively about east of the river and say, man, I can't wait to go east of the river to learn how it's being done in the United States of America. Thank you all very much.